dry season in Tanzania's Serengeti National Park. Times are tough, but scars heal, and the great herds are marching ever closer. After a few days, pride life finally settles down. The lions begin their courtship. They rarely conceive on their first estrus after a takeover. They need assurance that the new lions are strong enough to protect the pride, and that they are here to stay. The nomads are now pride protectors. These juvenile males, bachelors-to-be, enjoy all the advantages of a stable pride, for now. In time, they will take on the mantle that every successful lion must bear. Like their new protectors, they will become nomads until old enough to take a pride of their own. Being pride protectors has its benefits. The females do most of the work. But why kill when cheetahs will do it for you? Lions are opportunists and prefer to minimize risk. They are much more powerful than the more slender cheetahs. Even at 3 against 1, it's no contest. Superior strength also applies within the pride, but this lioness is tenacious. Not hungry enough to take the kill, the lion breaks off his chase. Although prey is scarce now, the pride has been successful hunting on the outer reaches of their territory, and sometimes targeting unusual prey. The big cats claim a vantage point in acacia trees. The males hang back, too conspicuous in an ambush. One well-aimed kick from an adult giraffe could kill Africa's biggest cat. At this time of year, our lion's hunger outweighs the risks of engagement. Young giraffes rely on their mothers to lead them from an assault. Hunters change their tactics. as does their prey. A giraffe mother's next best defense is to hide her babies in the undergrowth. The hunt becomes a deadly game of hide and seek. The young giraffe is too exposed. The mother giraffe is not strong enough to take on her aggressors. The giraffe will be forced to abandon the acacia forest to give her future offspring a fighting chance of survival. Our lions, too, are forced farther out to widen their net. Baboons rarely feature on their hit list. Adult males armed with big teeth defend their troops. Hunger is an all-powerful incentive. Baboons are vulnerable while foraging on or near the ground. They use their numbers to deter attackers. They can mob and injure big cats, but an empty belly prompts bold action. Her only chance of a meal is a lone monkey caught off guard. A single baboon may sustain one lioness, but only if she keeps it for herself. Screams of alarm give her game away. The lioness and her prize are mobbed after scant mouthfuls. The dry season severity is almost at an end. The pride has one last prey animal in its sights before the rains. Buffalo are among the few options remaining in the pride's territory. They are the biggest and most dangerous creatures the lions take on. Our males are not built to run down prey. Their size and mane make them cumbersome hunters. But when hunger forces them to act, they take on an animal 3 times their weight. Initiates the attack, the cue for our male to strike. Success will provide for our whole pride, but the risks are great. The buffalo hasn't given up the fight. The herd starts a counterattack. The lion's time is running out. The mighty buffalo herd rallies against their attackers. Our lion's power and iron will triumph. No pride member goes hungry with prey of this size. It's a respite in the last days of the dry season. But salvation is on the horizon. Transformation is at hand. Pregnant with precipitation, storm clouds reach the pride's territory. The herd's frontrunners arrive in our lion's territory. The adolescent males, the bachelors-to-be, are tolerated by the new pride males. But time in their maternal pride is ticking away. The invader males are now fully integrated into the pride. One savors the rich pickings to come. The other does what a lion does most of all. It's the start of the wet season overabundance, and just as well, as there are now more mouths to feed. In a secluded acacia scrub, our lead lioness gives birth to the new male's offspring, 3.5 months after conception. She seeks seclusion at this time to minimize risk to her newborns. Cubs are born totally helpless, and it can take 11 days for their eyes to open.
This show was created for you and your family to watch together. Welcome to Nat Geo Wild.
These cubs are lucky. They will have no other cubs in competition for milk when they're old enough to join the pride. But to get sustenance, first, they have to find the right part of mom. The oncoming herds of wanderers are now pouring into the pride's territory. The lions are spoiled by the choice. Pride males rarely hunt for themselves. With their manes, they're far too conspicuous to potential prey. Their main function is to defend the pride against rival bachelors. The numbers of the arriving herds are astonishing, but that number is about to swell dramatically. Thousands of baby wildebeest are delivered within 3 weeks of each other. This tactic overwhelms predators and ensures that a large percentage of calves survive. With helpless prey so plentiful, the lion's stalk is almost redundant. Cat and mouse, Serengeti style. The lionesses are not hungry, but such easy prey is hard to resist. Lions are not the only predators at work. Hyenas, too, are swift to take advantage of the surplus source of food. There is no killing bite. Their victims are disemboweled and die within a few minutes. In turn, their nourishment will benefit their demanding offspring. The cheetah is mindful of other predators that are direct threats to her cubs. Moving dens is risky. Lionesses are very tolerant with their own cubs, but savagely intolerant of any other predator's offspring. Relocating is never safe when there are predators around. Only one cheetah cub can be moved at a time, and this leaves those waiting all too vulnerable. It's one life lost. Only half of cheetah cubs make it to 3 months old. Our 2 males provide a more secure home for their offspring. The skills of the lion's next generation are usually honed by play. Our males spend their rest periods a little less actively. Lions relax up to 21 hours a day. The pride's maturing young males, the bachelors-to-be, are keeping a low profile. The adult males will not tolerate their presence much longer. These sub-adult males will leave their pride and form a bachelor coalition when they reach about 2.5 years old. At 5 years old, they will look for a pride of their own. It's a big step. It's an unforgiving world without the support of their pride behind them. And it's getting drier. There are no farewells. They must travel beyond the scent-marked boundaries of their mother's territory and into the ranges of neighboring prides. Now, they are nomads and trespassers, forced constantly on the move to keep out of trouble. The two new young bachelors take time to cement their strong bond. This head rubbing relates to scent sharing, another aspect that unites the two. But what really unites them is that two is twice as intimidating as one. They need each other. They also need food, something their pride females have always provided. In this new and unknown area of the plains, there is prey. But the young lion's inexperience counts against them. The bachelor duo will have to start small. Ostriches lay eggs in the open. The female on guard has no choice but to move on as the boys feast. It's something, and that's better than nothing. In time, the young wanderers develop the distinctive adult mane. Older and more powerful, they are still intruders at another pride's waterhole. This male is not old enough to be alone. His pride must be somewhere near. Traveling at the tail of the mass of dark bodies are the tan and lithe Thompson's gazelles. These grazers find sustenance in grasses others have abandoned, but they are still fair game. Resident pride here is ruled by a single male, and as ever, it's the pride females who do most of the work. preferable when the terrain presents perfect cover. Young Tommies that don't read the signs run into big trouble. The lioness is unaware of new males, the bachelor duo, in her pride's territory, and takes her catch off to eat. But the boys are hungry. Pride lions don't share food, females, or territory with outsiders. The lioness is alone, her pride some distance away. She's nervous of this unknown, intruding male. And there are two of them? There are always others who will deal with the leftovers. Another clan of hyenas and their pups also have a den in the resident pride's territory. The pups are boisterous and playful. Pups, even at this age, have a voice. Their distinctive cackling howl is well developed, but this is not the time or place to advertise their presence. The resident pride has already ousted their subadult males, but one returns to scrounge some of the kill. It's a big mistake. Once lowly subadults themselves, our bachelor males are now 4 years old and make a formidable team. They have yet to encounter the resident pride, but are approaching the penultimate milestone in their maturity: the extermination of the competition. Like the cheetah cubs slain by the first pride, the hyena cubs are potential targets. They're not powerful hunters now, but from a lion's brutal instinct, they are rivals. Babysitting adult hyenas are too few and have no choice but to flee. The offspring underground will have to trust in their luck. And it's all bad. This is what it takes to be a successful lion. The bachelor males assert their dominance. abandon their compromised den. Only the scavengers are left to pick over what once was the hyena's future. These impressive big cats, now in their prime, have one more goal to achieve: take over. This lioness, part of the stable resident pride, senses only imminent rain. The lone pride male is not powerful enough to protect his extended family. A lioness with new cubs has most to fear and most to lose from a takeover. But the bachelors are primed. One bachelor breaks off towards the rocky outcrop known as a kopje. His partner stays on the plains. The lioness must hide her cubs. 2 against 1. The ruling king knows he's beaten. Without a killer in kindergarten. With her maternal instinct fired up, the lioness does what she's compelled to do: defend her young at any cost. A diversion. Lions have no adoption strategy, and to ensure the future of their own bloodline, they will kill without pity. The first bachelor leads the mother farther away. Job done. It's too late. Her cubs are gone. There is no more she can do. These deaths are simply stages in the bachelors' lives, events that must occur to guarantee their own future. A a future bound with this new pride, whose stability the intruders have utterly destroyed. In time, the females will bear cubs. The cycle of brutality. Success depends on sudden, effective, and deadly acts of violence. All for the sake of a pride. Brutal, yes. Killers, of course. But for this big cat, that's what it takes to be a lion.
This is what it takes to be a successful lion. The bachelor males assert their dominance. The hyenas abandon their compromised den. Only the scavengers are left to pick over what once was a thriving pack. These impressive big cats, now in their prime, have one more goal to achieve: take over. This lioness, part of the stable resident pride, senses imminent rain. A lone pride male is not powerful enough to protect his extended family. A lioness with new cubs has most to fear and most to lose from a takeover. And the bachelors are primed for action. One bachelor breaks off towards a rocky outcrop or kopje. His partner stays on the veldt. The lioness must hide her cubs. It's 2 against 1. The ruling king knows he's beaten. Without a pride, his future is bleak. Other members of the resident pride make their getaway. On the kopje now, the second bachelor moves closer to the cubs. A killer in kindergarten. With her maternal instinct fired up, the lioness does what she's compelled to do: defend her young at any cost. But for all her efforts, this fight is merely a diversion. Lions have no adoption strategy, and to ensure the future of their own bloodline, they will kill without pity. The first bachelor leads the mother farther away. The job is done. It's too late for the lioness. Her cubs are gone. There is no more she can do. These deaths are simply stages in the bachelors' lives. Events that must occur to guarantee their own future. A future bound with a new pride whose stability the intruders have utterly destroyed. In time, the females will bear cubs. The cycle of apparent brutality that punctuates a lion's life will continue. success depends on sudden, effective, and deadly violence for the sake of a pride. It may seem like brutal killing, but for a big cat, that's what it takes to be a lion.
Yeah. Go, here you go.
He's grown up with them, so.
Yeah. What are you doing here, guy?
Hey, you.
Are you having fun?
Now they have to pay $300
Whoa!
for going in with 3 of them.
Yeah. Yeah, hang on.
Watch out.
Uh-oh, watch out. You guys getting tired. Oh, and he comes.
Greeting sounders.
Their eyes is protecting, look.
That's cute.
Yeah. That's enough? Oh, back to sleeping. Back to sleeping.
Some call this the land God made in anger. Others, the gates of hell. Scorching heat. Shimmering mirages. The deserts of Namibia in southwest Africa. This is a hostile place. Yet there's life here in abundance. How do these creatures survive? Animals this size are rare in the desert. Large bodies need huge quantities of food and water. In the deserts of Namibia, both are in short supply. Some of the largest animals on the planet, flourishing in one of the driest landscapes on Earth. Namibia's desert kingdom is framed by two enduring rivers, to the north and the south. You can travel for days here and see nothing but dust and sand. The secret to survival in this barren landscape lies in these vast dry valleys cut through the land. Riverbeds with no sign of water. Yet here, even without rain, life clings on. These rivers of sand are the desert's beating heart. Strangely, the Namib Desert is created by water. Far inland, rivers flow through the mountains. This is a land of rock and water. And with so much water, there's no shortage of life. Rock hyraxes make their homes on the steep valley sides. Swifts nest here by the thousand, and they're constantly on the wing in search of insects. Over millions of years, water wears away the rock. It carves deep gorges, grinds mountains into sand, and washes it down towards the sea. Eventually, sandy sediment flows from the river's mouth and settles on the ocean floor. Here, a new force takes hold. The powerful Benguela current sweeps the sand northwards along the coast and back in towards land. Tides and storms deposit it along the desert coast. Billions of tons of sand are dumped here, then driven inland by the relentless trade wind to create the vast, beautiful, and hostile dunes of Namibia's desert. No rain. just sand. It blows across the empty plains, swirls through the dry valleys that cut through the desert. The valley floor is home to creatures that could survive nowhere else here. Springbok, oryx, even elephants. The trees are a clue to these animals' survival. Plants cannot grow without one vital ingredient. Somewhere here, there is water. It's so dry in the Namib Desert that water usually only flows down these sand valleys for a month or two each year. Even then, the river rarely reaches the sea. The sand is deep and dry. The water sinks away. Only the deepest roots can find it. It's what makes life here possible. In the Sand River, in the cool of the morning, water condenses on the leaves. For one ephemeral hour, it's almost as though it had rained. But soon, reality returns. For desert giraffes, finding food is only half the battle. The hard part is winning a mate. These two males are normally content in each other's company. But when a female comes by, that changes. Male giraffes impress females by sparring. This fight is comparatively gentle. They can be brutal. The female's not impressed. She may not be ready, or perhaps she's aware that they're not alone. A lion pride this size is extremely rare in the desert. 3 females and 5 cubs. There is enough prey for them, but these desert lions have been persecuted by humans to near extinction. Many of the animals that remain now wear radio collars. Tracking the pride provides some small measure of protection. Here, for now, they are comparatively safe. There's time to play in the cool of the morning. There's a whole world to explore. but there are hard times ahead. One day the river will flow again. But first, it must rain in mountains hundreds of kilometers to the east. Until then, the next drink and the next meal are never certain. The lion cubs are about 5 months old. They need fresh meat every few days, or else they'll starve. Franklins pick over the remains of the elephant dung. Ideal stalking practice for ambitious young predators. Luckily for the birds, the lion cubs are easily distracted. These youngsters still have a lot to learn before they can kill for themselves. Lions are ambush predators, but in this desert environment, opportunities are rare, and concealment is hard. One cub can't resist and follows the adults. It's a mistake that could spoil the hunt and cost the small youngster its life. An oryx is heading towards them. An opportunity. The lionesses split. 2 females hide behind a rocky outcrop. The other takes the direct approach, and the ambush is set. But the cub spooks a herd of springbok. For the lone female, the moment is lost. Or is it? The other 2 are hidden just around the corner. For the Sand River lions, 9 out of 10 hunts ends in failure. But this time, they're in luck. The females will eat their fill, then bring the cubs in to feed on what remains. But while most of the cubs wait patiently for the females to return, their sibling is lost. The lionesses return. The cubs are delighted to see them, but the adults soon realize that one is missing. They call for the missing cub. The calls have attracted the attention of 2 large males. If they fathered the cubs here, all will be well. If not, they'll kill them in order to sire cubs of their own. All alone in the bush, the stray cub is an easy target. Unless it finds its way back to the protection of its mother, it could easily lose its life. The sun sets after another dry day in the Send River. The land perpetually waiting for rain. A world balanced on a knife edge between life and death. Then a new day begins, and the temperature starts to climb once more. Mousebirds warm themselves in the morning sun. A caracal scans the desert in search of breakfast. Pied crows mob her. She'll take their chicks if she can find them. Unlike the lions, the caracal hunts alone. Her huge ears can detect even the smallest movement in the undergrowth. A mouse. The caracal gets both food and moisture from a single meal. Morning has brought good fortune for the lions too. The males have stayed away. It's a sure sign that they are the cubs' fathers. If they weren't, by now the cubs would most likely be dead. And finally, after many anxious hours, the pride's stray emerges from the dunes. A joyful reunion amongst the parched and tangled roots. For once in this harsh land, a happy ending. The males continue their long march around their territory, checking for intruders. Even a full-grown bull elephant struggles to reach the good stuff. It's time to get creative. Elephants are social animals. They're not all tall enough to reach. So once the branch is down, it's not long before others want to share. The bull's having none of it. Well, maybe he could let the youngster have just a bit. By the time the rest of the gang arrive, there's nothing left. The fact that so many elephants can live here is testament to their extraordinary survival skills. The babies of these desert elephants suckle from their mothers for up to 7 years. Much longer than their cousins on the savannah. Without that, it's unlikely they'd survive. Moisture trapped beneath the sand is not the only source of water here. The same trade winds that create the dunes also nourish the plants. The weather along Namibia's coast is notoriously brutal. The shoreline is littered with wrecks. Those who survived the sea mostly died of thirst or exposure. The few who lived to tell the tale gave this shore its name, the Skeleton Coast. But these same currents that threaten ships also water the desert. Cold seawater is heated by the warm desert shore. Moisture rises into the air. From time to time, the trade winds blow this humid air inland. Banks of mist drift across the desert. The Sand River has been dry for almost a year. And with every passing day, the land grows drier. It could be months before water flows again. Yet life goes on. Lovebirds shelter in the shade of the rocks. There are still seeds for them to feed on, and a new generation of lovebirds to create. Baboons thrive here. These are true survivors. They too find shelter on the Sand River's rocky walls. Fruits and leaves provide welcome moisture. In the Sand River, food can be found if you know where to look. The older, more experienced baboons rarely go hungry. Food is not the problem. As always here, it's water. A meerkat family finds just enough to eat on the slopes above the valley. They can survive here because they don't need to drink. They get all the water they need from their food. It's a small family, just 5 adults and 3 babies. It's all the land can support. Life is far from easy. Every day they must scratch a living from the unforgiving sand and gravel. Breakfast may be grubs or beetles. If they are lucky, a juicy scorpion. Just as the insects make it possible for meerkats to live here, so the meerkats make life possible for others. They must watch for foxes, jackals, snakes, and for danger from above. Eagles patrol these skies. This one has already made a kill. But it's not from their group. For now, the skies are safe. While the family forages, at least one always stands guard. An alarm bark. One has spotted danger. This Cape fox is uncomfortably close. He may just be resting, or he could be contemplating breakfast. Most likely he's just warming up in the early morning sun. It's a calculated risk, but perhaps there is time to catch that beetle after all. In the end, the family decide that the fox is just too close for comfort. He's not going anywhere. In fact, he may have moved in for good. This may be a safer home. The rocky outcrop will help shelter them from the sun and from predators, for now. But inevitably, predators will find them again. Life in the Sand River means constantly moving on. On the vast, barren plains between the Sand River valleys, life is even tougher. As always, it's all about the hunt for water. Ostriches can walk huge distances. They're built for the desert. Oryx and springbok, too. They're in search of a rare desert jewel. A small freshwater spring, far from the Sand River. For the animals that can get here, there's a trickle of water all year round. Martins take a drink on the wing. Sand grouse fly in from up to 60 kilometers away. Huge flocks gather every morning. They dip their breast feathers, soaking up water to carry back for their young way off in the desert. They must remain alert. Falcons watch over the oasis. For them too, this is a place of plenty. The grouse see the predator coming. They scatter. This time, the falcon misses, but soon she'll try again. This time, the falcon doesn't miss. In the Sand River Valley, the elephants have developed their own unique way to get water. The trees have deep roots. They're proof that there is water here. The only problem is reaching it. The baboons grow excited when the elephants arrive. They know what's coming next. The elephants are their ticket to a free drink. These huge bulls know the desert well, and their sense of smell is powerful enough to sniff out the smallest amount of water, even buried underground. When he's pinpointed the spot, the bull begins to dig. All the baboons need to do is wait. About a meter down, the elephant finds what he's looking for. He siphons off the sandy water to leave a fresh, clear pool. The elephants of the Sand River know all the places to dig. Most likely, they learned from their families. Elephants pass knowledge from generation to generation. It's the key to their success. The baboons wait for the elephants to leave the freshly dug wells. Even an eagle welcomes a drink of fresh water in the desert. For all these animals, this is a fleeting opportunity. All too soon, these wells will run dry. The elephants go on their way, but they leave behind a new opportunity for hungry animals. Their dung. The elephant's digestive system is very inefficient. Their dung contains plenty of nutrients they couldn't digest. For the elephants, that means a constant search for food, while other animals feast on undigested seeds and insects that gather on the dung. Soon the last drops of water and the last scraps of dung will be gone. Searing heat scorches the desert. But in the mountains far to the desert's east, there is change. Hundreds of kilometers away, at long last, rain has fallen. It pours through rocks and canyons and spills out onto the desert floor. In the Sand River, there is a familiar harsh blue sky. Finally, many hours later, the river comes to life. It's a meager trickle, but it's more water than this valley has seen for a year. The lifeblood of the Namib Desert. The reason why anything can live here at all. The water will soon soak away. It will pool amongst the rocks below the sand. The roots of the trees will reach down towards it. Their growth will fuel new life. The Sand River is renewed. And then, life goes on. The future here is always uncertain. Namibia's desert kingdom endures, as it has for thousands of years. And the Sand River waits once more for the rains.
It is inky black tonight. There's just absolutely no light. all the rustling that I can hear. It sounds exactly what my brain is telling me a lion would sound like if it was sneaking up on me. Oh God, the light's gone off. I don't feel particularly safe. In fact, I actually feel the furthest from being safe that I've ever felt. My light's not bloody working. Come on, switch back on. Why is that off? I am in Africa, in southern Tanzania, where lions kill more people than anywhere else on Earth. Along the Rufiji River, lions have attacked as many as 140 people in a single year. An equal number of cases may go unreported. Over 600 people are already dead. Lions usually stick to four-legged animals: buffalo, wildebeest, and zebra. Even when they meet humans with cattle, they go for the cattle, not the man or the child guarding them. Why do lions in this part of the world stray from their natural prey? For my investigation, I'm enlisting the help of a local lion conflict expert, Haruna Liimo. Our first stop is where lions repeatedly attacked this same village.
You see the signpost ahead?
Oh yeah. A billboard at the side of the road is a memorial. I've got the first word, Simba, lion. What else does that say? Is that the date that it was killed?
The meaning is that man-eating lion ate 40 people and injured 7.
It ate 40 people?
40 people and injured 7.
And how long ago was that?
That was 2002 all the way to 2004.
Yeah, this lion on the sign here is the infamous lion called Osama. For 4 years he was out there and actually continued killing people, but it's like any animal. Once you get good at something, you keep on doing it until something stops you. Lions are opportunists. They'll take whatever is most available. As cubs, they learn how and what to hunt by watching their mother. When they're old or injured, or their natural prey is no longer available, they may turn to easier victims. Osama probably picked up the habit and the taste for human flesh when his mother started eating people. Osama was finally killed just outside this village. Afterwards, the number of attacks did go down, but they never stopped completely and still continue to this day. So far, life along the Rufiji River looks the same as in neighbouring areas we've driven through. Haruna tells me that these Bantu people are predominantly Muslim farmers and amongst the poorest in East Africa. They live hand to mouth, growing rice, maize and cassava in small plots. In other areas of Tanzania, lions give such villages a wide berth. The local chairman should know if that's the case here. How often do you see lions?
Ni mara ngapi unaona simba? Kawaida unaona simba.
Ni pale ninaweza kuona au labda watu wengi wamekanyaga, lakini miguu sasa inaonekana kwa pale maeneo pale nimeona hasa miguu ya simba.
You know, in this village it's common, and even if you were here early in the morning, you could see there was footprints around.
Oh really? On this road here?
Yeah.
At some point this morning, possibly a pride of lions has walked down this road. Oh, look here. Well, There's a big splodge in the road. It's just a big hole. It looks as if somebody's punched it, but there's actually two prints here. One that's gone down first and the second one's come on straight on top of it. The 4 toes quite well defined, about the size of my thumb. 1, 2, 3, 4, and a smaller pad. It's a little bit nerve-wracking to think that somewhere close by there could be a pride of lions lying under a tree.
The cats stay unusually close to humans here. It's an unsettling situation, but what's causing it?
I arranged to meet a couple of guys. One of them says, in the last 2 weeks, he was grabbed by a lion. Gordon.
It's my first chance to meet a survivor. He tells me he was attacked far from the town, in the forest.
I noticed he was limping a bit. Is a bit infected?
Yeah, I can tell.
So, what were you guys doing in the forest? You cutting wood? So he was saying it was so dark, they fell asleep. There was no fire, no torches. He was grabbed, woke up in pain, and an animal had him. He started screaming. His friend was screaming as well. An animal moved off without actually seeing what it was. But it's very lucky to have got away with just a few scars on his legs.
If the lone animal was a lion, it certainly wasn't a man-eater. It seems more of a trial taste, like an exploratory bite from a shark, rather than a full-on attack. But not all attacks are way out in the wild. Lions are also attacking farmers in their fields.
What Nick has told us is just a horrific story of walking out to meet his brother at night time. And I'm hearing the lions. And they were calling out to his brother, and his brother wasn't responding. And he was saying that he thought his brother wasn't responding because he didn't want to let the lions know that he was there. What he didn't know, it was a previous night in the neighbouring farm, someone had been killed by lions. They went back the next day. And first they found his brother's T-shirt, and then found the remains of his body, and he'd been killed not by one lion. They had a look around and there was tracks. This was a pride of lions. So it's not just some rogue lion that has just developed a taste for human flesh. It's not a rogue lion that is ill and unable to hunt natural prey. This is a pride of lions, a group that were actively hunting human beings.
Whatever is transforming this pride into man-eaters is powerful enough to change the whole group. Man-hunting by groups of lions is a worst-case scenario. A pride can overcome any natural competition or unarmed resistance. Normally, when hunting large animals, a lone lion is not always successful. But when they hunt large prey in groups, their success rate increases rapidly. Here, there are more lion attacks, and more lions. Something is changing the odds. To find out what it is, I need to see with my own eyes where those attacks happen. For the villages north of the Rufiji River, the southern banks provide fertile farmland. The majority of the recent attacks are happening right in the farmers' fields. Lions would normally steer clear of these places. Instead, these have become killing grounds. The attacks reach their peak during harvest. Then, to be near their crops, the villagers overnight in summer shelters. Dungus.
Gosh, a lot smaller than I thought. I thought it was going to be more house-like. These dungus, this is where they climb up and spend the night. This thing might collapse when I get up there. Whoa. Gosh.
not substantial at all. There's lots of them just spread off through this crop yard. There's no crops here at the moment, but when there is, this is when people will be in here every night. I'd have expected people to be safe out of sight inside a dungu. One witness can put me right. Sharifa Makweti knows just how dangerous these huts are. What Sharifa was saying, she was sleeping in the dungu on her own. Her husband and his other wife were close by, and she was having a dream. You know that way that sometimes reality enters your dream, and she was aware of something trying to get at her, and she wakes from one nightmare and wakes into a nightmare far worse. There's a lion trying to get in to her dungu through the roof. There's lions walking about underneath. Her husband, in an attempt to draw the lions away, to scare them off, turned his light on, and it had completely the opposite effect. And the lions had climbed up onto the roof and were actually clawing their way through the thatch, trying to get in at them. And one of them did. Tragically, Sharifa's husband was taken from the dungu and was killed by the lions. It's such a horrible, horrible story. But the really terrifying part of it is this human activity, somebody calling, somebody flashing a light, that didn't send the lions fleeing, it actually drew them in. Here, lions are not afraid of man. Some scientists even wonder if they're coming here looking for people to target. If they have, it's unlike anywhere else on Earth. Something must be different, and I need to find out what it is. Here in southern Tanzania, some lions view humans as prey. We've got a situation here where there are lions in this area that aren't indiscriminately killing people. They are targeting human beings. They've moved their eyes away from a natural prey and thought, there are people here and we can eat them, we can catch them, and we can do it all very easily. In total, lions here went on to claim at least 37 more victims. Something here was deadly wrong. Something led to these attacks. But what was it? I must look for factors in common. The time, the place. Is the missing element something to do with the seasons? Their dungus? Or perhaps the farmers themselves? Few of them ever see the lions, and on successive nights, the attackers can strike far apart. If the villagers are too afraid to go into the fields, they can't feed themselves. They can barely afford torches, and they certainly don't have weapons. They have no choice but to call in the lion killers. The rangers know that flesh and blood lions can move up to 12 miles in a night if they choose. What's more, they're predictable. They'll return to finish half-eaten kills. When Sharifa's husband was killed, these are guys that were called in to try and snare and shoot the lions. You see how easy it is to trap a big cat. All somebody needs is a piece of wire that you could find lying at the side of the road or sort of around about any village. It's quite a grotesquely simple way of catching an animal. I mean, it's almost invisible. You know, for a human being, it'd be easy to overlook something like this. And what happens is an animal would come through, okay, a lion, it wouldn't necessarily pick its feet up. It would put its head through somewhere like this, maybe one leg through, but once you go, you're stuck, completely stuck. Okay. And the harder you pull, the tighter it gets. So if you look what I'm doing, even for me, this arm's completely out of action. You know, I know what's going on. It actually feels quite horrible to be
stuck like this and suddenly anchored to a tree. So you can imagine for an animal like a lion that suddenly gets grabbed like this, it goes berserk. And I've seen sites where animals have been snared before, and it is gruesome. The animal will often kill itself. Fortunately, quite often they get them around the neck and the animal will fairly quickly die, but it is a scene of devastation. Everything, the whole ground is ripped up. You've got an animal that is stuck fast. You snared the lion, you managed to shoot it, and then you took the body into the village to show the villagers that it was dead. But then I hear that there were some people that actually ate the body of the lion. Is it true? Yeah.
The lion eat it.
Okay.
A man,
Yeah.
or kill a man and they ate it, or eat half of it. And if you shoot the lion, people are taking the meat, right?
Yeah.
In angry, and then they chop it, or they fry it and they eat.
Yeah.
Right?
It's this sort of ultimate of giving the lion a taste of its own medicine. This lion has killed someone and eaten them, so when they shot this lion and they took it to the village, a group of men then ate that lion. Did you try some?
Me?
Yeah.
No.
News of the man-eaters spread across the Rufiji River. Villagers on the other side trusted that the wide, fast-flowing water could stop the lion attacks. They were wrong. I'm going to an island in the Rufiji River to investigate another case.
Now, this is the kind of place that you would be worried about wandering alone by yourself. Kind of path going through this long grass here. You know, all these big cats are ambush predators. And I would have thought if there was a man-eating lying around, they would sense that somebody was coming and they'd work their way down as close as they could get, jump out and nail them. Probably best not to think about things like that.
The river itself is no friend to humans.
I just found out a few weeks ago, 13 people were in a boat crossing the river. A hippo came up, attacked the boat, upturned it, and 13 of them drowned.
Despite the danger, one family struck out to an island in the river at the height of the killings to get away from the attacks.
Said?
Haruna translates Saidi's story for him.
Yeah. He met some people coming from the farm to the village and told him that, hey, I think it's better you go to the island. We had some commotion last night, so could be your mother instead.
The lions had actually swam from one side, from the south side, onto the island. God. It was just, the most horrific story. He got to his farm and he finds the partially eaten bodies of his two children. The partially eaten body of his father. And then he finds a drag mark with lion tracks going down to the river. And his mother was missing. He must have known that the same thing had happened to her. I cannot imagine what it must have been like for Said to actually see that with his own eyes. Those lions had crossed from the south side onto an island, and the only reason that they would have done that, there was no natural prey there. So those lions had made up their mind that there was food there, and that was human beings. These were man-eating lions on the rampage. They killed 4 people in a single night.
What I've learned so far really does go against all my previous experience. It's not one lion, not an old or sick animal. We're talking about whole prides coming in strength and coming to the very places they usually avoid. They don't run when confronted, and they don't scare. They have a new strategy. They locate their prey precisely, and they target individuals. Something here made these lions switch to hunting humans. To find out if the trigger is as simple as hunger, I'm headed away from the villages and deeper into the wild. Just a short drive away are two huge game reserves, where there are more wild lions than anywhere else on Earth. Selu Game Reserve alone is larger than Switzerland. Its borders are so close to the villages and farms, it could be where the man-eaters are coming from. I need to see if the lions here are just short of prey. These huge reserves contain some of the greatest wildlife concentrations on the continent. 120,000 buffalo, 70,000 elephants, more than 500,000 antelope, and over 2,000 giraffes. There's animal sign round about here everywhere. Droppings from impala, droppings from giraffes, some giraffe prints. But this is what I'm after. Not great. It's a lion pug mark. It's coming across here. This mud's been very soft and its foot's sunken right down into there. Oh, some more here, look. I love finding stuff like this because it's just a clear sign that the animals are here and it shows some kind of intention, you know, where were they going? Why were they going there? Oh, wow, 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 look at these ones. Holy mackerel. That's a big lion. That's a very big lion. Smaller ones here. Definitely a large pride of lions moving this direction. All I need to do to find them is follow the tracks. By finding these lines, it actually tells us a huge amount about this area. It tells us that there must be a lot of prey, not only to support these two females, but to support the male that's part of this pride. And these animals are doing well. They're reproducing. They've got 5 cubs here. You look at the cubs and you think, how could they ever be threatening? They're small, cute, cuddly. But when you actually look into their eyes, what I see is a predator. An animal that spends almost its entire life thinking about meat. Every single lion faces some kind of problem in life. And I think it's problems that turns a normal lion into a man-eater. But if there's one problem the cats in the park don't have to worry about, it's hunger. The most important thing that I've learned is that these man-eating lions, the problem lions, are not the same lions that I find in the park. There is absolutely no reason for those lions in Selu to move outside. They have got everything that they need there. But there are lions living outside. Lions are very adaptable. Round about here, you see people all the time. You hear people all the time. But then when the sun goes down, you're lying in the dark in your tent and you hear all these natural sounds. Not a single human being. You start wondering, you know, what is out there? Because there are things here. Now the rain is here, the whole landscape is coming alive. I'm going to set up my trap cameras to see what is out there, if there's enough natural prey outside the park for the lions. Using these camera traps, it's hit and miss, and you tend to miss more than you hit. First thing you have to find is a decent place to put them. This is a good area. You've got this long path here. A lot of animals will use these paths. This is a human path, but a lot of animals will use something like this. Rather than picking their way through these thick trees, they'll stick to a path like this. It's easier for them.
see there's some animals come along here, something big. Can't tell what it is, the tracks aren't clear enough, but you can see there's a fairly worn path along here. That was the easy part. The difficult bit is remembering where to put them all.
Well, not a very rich harvest. A mouthful of monkey would barely feed a cub, no more. No impala, no wildebeest. Whatever they're feeding on, I'm not finding it. Maybe the answer is where the bulk of the attacks took place.
The last outbreak kicked off on the south side of the Rufiji River, so that's where I'm going to head. Practically all of these attacks took place around the fields in the Dungus, so I'm going to go and spend a night there just to try and get my head around what it is like to be out there in the pitch black with wild animals around.
When I'm there, at the very epicenter of the outbreaks, I'm going to see if I can uncover what it is that triggers the attacks.
Solid boat.
Only if I'm on the spot am I going to be able to get inside the lions' minds. I'm going to spend the night alone with only my cameras in the Dungu. I've just heard that my insurers have withdrawn my life insurance for tonight, so that doesn't fill me with confidence. I need to do this to really get a feel for what the lions find here, to see through the lion's eyes in exactly the same conditions.
I'm leaving. People talk about how these lions mysteriously show up in one village, kill someone, and then 20 kilometers away, they mysteriously just show up and kill someone else, and no one sees them walking between the villages. Well, no wonder. Look around here. It is dense bush. This is the type of terrain that 12 lions could walk through, and you'd never, ever know they were there. There could be a pride right here. You'd never know. Planted.
The reason the farmers live in these fields over harvest time is to protect their crops from raiders.
Not exactly travelling light. I'm just hoping that before the light goes, I'll be able to put out my camera traps. There are animals coming in and just completely devastating the stuff that these people plant. I'd be interested to find out exactly what those animals are. Home sweet home. This is looking good. Actually looks very nice and comfortable. Oh, it'd be great. Everyone's gonna leave me. Bye, Gordy. Bye. Joke's over. You're not really gonna leave me here.
We are.
Am I the foolish one? Would you mind doing it?
Would I?
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it for all the tea in China.
When the man who's been studying the lions in this area for 10 years says there's no way he'd stay in that overnight, then I'd take my leave from him.
And I'm with Joe.
Okay.
Good night, Gordy. See you.
Ah, okay. Yeah, I'll be fine. Well, I'm here, there's no going back. I'm on the south side of the river, and all my compadres have left me, so make the most of it. Enjoy it. Hey, what's there not to enjoy? I'm just at the epicenter of the last outbreak of man-eating. Hello. Rambo. TC, I'm not completely by myself. Once I lose the sun, all these kids will head home. People will settle down for the night. It's the time of day that lions wake up. And I'm reminded of all the things that I've read, of all the people that I've spoken to that have told me about lions coming to places exactly like this, dragging people out, killing them, and eating them. I can suddenly see and imagine all of those things going on. I might not be able to figure out exactly why it happens, but right now
All seems very real. I've put myself into the killing fields. I'm just going to leave the safety of my dungu. Is it that safe? Probably not. Considering most of the people that were killed around the dungus or actually sleeping in them. I don't think they offer much safety at all. What I want to do, before I lose the light entirely, is find a place to put these camera traps, so it just saves me having to wander out, and I don't want to be spending any time walking about here at night time. I've been strongly advised against leaving the dungu once it gets dark. Yeah, somebody was attacked 2 weeks ago. Okay, we've got a little sapling here that I'm going to fasten one camera trap to. I've got 4 to put out, so I'm just going to have to hurry and put them out now. A bit of a rush. Beginning to feel a bit nervous now. Has to be said. I don't know whether I'm foolhardy or foolish, or whether those things are one of the same. It's going to be an interesting night. I'm not sure if I'm going to get much sleep. I'm not sure if I want to go to sleep. In fact, I'm not sure whether I want to be here at all. The trouble is, I know night is when lions go to work. They locate their victims using scent and sound. They will smell me long before I get wind of them. To keep me safe, I'm relying on the technology I have to penetrate the dark. Okay, I've just flicked on the thermal imaging camera. I'll have a pan around. There's a noise over there. There must be about 5 rats in the thatch of this roof, scurrying about. It is inky black tonight. There's just absolutely no light. All the rustling that I can hear sounds exactly what my brain is telling me a lion would sound like if it was sneaking up on me. I can't see anything, I can't hear anything, and that's exactly the kind of advantage that lions use. It's really spooky, kind of exciting, but not good excitement. Horrible excitement. That kind of excitement that, oh God, the light's gone off. At the moment, I don't know, I don't feel particularly safe. In fact, I actually feel the furthest from being safe that I've ever felt. And my light's not bloody working. Come on, switch back on, why is that off?
Hi, Gordon, can you hear me? Hello, Gordon. Are you there?
Hello, Gordon, can you hear me? This is Joe. Gordon, can you hear me? It's nothing. I hope it's just run out of batteries. We were well inside the range that they should work. So it's been about 4.5 hours to get here on the river. Gordon's been on his own all night. We haven't had any contact with him. Can't get hold of him on the radio, so we're in a bit of a panic.
I see, I'm Jambo. How are you? I'm going to go to one. Ah, I'm going to go to you. You go to okay.
What did you say to him? What did you ask him?
You found out, guess who slept here last night? I said, yes, he's up there.
He's up there?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Sounds like he's still in one piece.
Okay, I'm going to gather in my camera traps and see if there's anything on them. They've been out all night, and I'm just really interested to know if any animals came into these crop fields last night, and if they did, what were they? It's been triggered 15 times, that's good. I don't feel that positive, to be honest. I would have thought if there were animals that came into the fields last night, the people in these dungus would have heard them and come out and scared them off. This one, 19 triggers on it.
Jumbo. Okay, last camera trap here has been triggered 5 times. Yeah, you never know. I'm going back to the Dungu. My thatched little Dungu. 'Cause this is the only kind of Dungu that I do.
Finally, I should have some evidence of my own. I'm hoping that my infrared cameras will shed light on the mystery of these man-eating lions.
Seems a bit strange sitting here with a state-of-the-art laptop in a Dungu. Sound of technology. Something's triggered it, but I can't see what. Nothing out there, that's weird. Spirit lions. Whoa, look at that. A bat and a cat. Well, it's not a cat. I think it's a genet. These animals are truly nocturnal. They feed on things like rodents and small lizards and snakes if they can catch them. Fruit as well. And again, this is very close to where I was sleeping. So, night time, it's a completely different world. There are animals out there that you just don't know they're around. Deer! Oh, wow!
So there is some prey out here.
Okay, that is a definite crop raider. Not what I was expecting. Not at all what I was expecting. Oh, what is that? Bush pig. It's a bush pig. Wow. That's just here. Just out. There's another one. 2, in fact. Big, big beasts. Huge. Oh, look, how many are there? How many are there? And piglet. Well, not piglets, but they're pretty big ones. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And getting more and more bold every time they come back. That's amazing. And all the while, I was fast asleep in here. Didn't know anything about it. That's a result. A big question has been answered for me. If this is where the lions come, and this is where the lions kill and eat people, why do people have to come here? And it's to protect their crops against these animals. This is just one little patch. There could be hundreds out there. These are exactly the kinds of animals that lions will hunt naturally. It's a fairly tricky animal for a lion to catch, but they do catch them.
And more importantly, they're what draw the lions here to the Dungus. So what researchers have found, and I've now seen for myself, is that the pigs are the key to the mystery. They come into the farmlands to raid crops. This draws in lions that hunt the pigs for food. The farmers go into the fields to drive away the pigs and come face to face with lions. With only Dungus for shelter, defenceless farmers become the prey. But there's something bothering me. Bush pigs live all over Africa. Why here? Why only here? I'm so close.
That is incredible. We've got a bush pig right here. How strange. We're in a place where you don't see any wild animals. It's not a feral pig. This is a completely wild bush pig. Hey, piggy pig. Look at that. I wonder if he's come here because it's nice and safe here. Because during the day, with all these people wandering about, you're not going to get a leopard or a lion coming here. It's a bit of a safe haven for this animal. I don't believe it. Hey, fella. Look at the size of him. Okay, he's going to trigger my camera trap. That's incredible. I don't believe that. I've heard monkeys round about here, but bush pigs
ordinarily are absolutely terrified of humans because they get shot and they get eaten. That's weird. That's very weird.
Walking into the village, I feel I'm on the verge of the answer. As the call to evening prayer rings out, as it has every night, I realise it's been right in front of me the whole time. This part of Tanzania is different from the rest. Here, bush pigs aren't scared of people because no one hunts them as they do everywhere else. And the reason is in their belief.
Every story I've heard about people being hunted by these man-eaters, it's taken place out in the farms. They're spending all this time in the farms protecting their crops from these bush pigs. I thought, why don't they kill them, trap them, eat them? They don't do that because 99% of the people in this entire area are Muslim. They don't eat pigs. They don't even like touching them.
For the researchers studying the man-eaters, this fact was the final piece to the puzzle. When bush pigs are off the menu, their numbers explode, drawing in the lions from miles around to areas where pigs feel safe, to where people are sleeping and walking after dark. My personal fear is that lions here could forsake bush pigs as prey, when humans are easier to hunt. There is hope though. Here in these villages, Haruna is working with the locals to keep bush pigs and predators alike from their fields.
We put on some of the plots and we house also the noisemakers and see if it can help them to keep bush pig away.
I can only hope for their sake that it works.
When young lionesses come of age, they always steal off to a secluded spot away from the pride and safe from hyenas. Three cubs are born in this safe hideaway. It's surprising to see that their eyes are open, but as yet they cannot see. By instinct they know what to search for, and very soon they locate by smell the nipples that will feed them for the next year. For that time and longer, the cubs will rely entirely on their mother and the pride. From very early on, there is competition for food among lions. Like a reigning queen, this hyena is the most dominant in what we call the Southern clan. She is the female leader, the matriarch. Her status is probably set for life. She keeps her two tiny cubs separate from the other mothers and their cubs. One of these cubs should grow up to be the matriarch's successor. As long as their mother is head of the clan, her position will ensure their protection. But now these tiny cubs are probably unaware of their privileged birthright. Male hyenas are smaller than the females and subordinate to them all. The females dominate the hyena clan system, and a male around the den is an unwelcome threat to cubs and a nuisance to females. This is a female society. In appearance, they are like dogs, but the myths and legends surrounding hyenas are mostly wrong. In fact, they are closer to cats than to dogs. These strange animals' nearest relative is the mongoose, but in some of their behavior, hyenas are like no other animals on Earth. When the sun beats down on the exposed dens, the adults retreat to the distant shade. Well within the Southern clan's territory, Matsumi is getting to know her new cubs. All she knows about cubs is drawn from her deep well of genetic knowledge. One of her strongest instincts now is to protect them. Like a princess, one of the hyena cubs remains aloof. Like a child, she is curious about the older cubs. Early observers mistakenly reported that hyenas were hermaphrodites, animals of dual sex. Both males and females have what looks like a penis. At an early age, both males and females try to engage in mock mating. This behavior has never been recorded before. It is among the many strange things about hyenas that make them one of the most fascinating and least understood creatures of Africa. The temptation to join in is too great. But danger stalks the open grassland. The matriarch is alerted and storms back to save her cubs. A lioness from the pride is surrounded and attacked. Her usual close companion, Matsumi, is away in the hills with her cubs. But the rest of the pride rushes to her aid. The young male darts in to take on the hyenas. This youngster, on the verge of adulthood, has already had many violent encounters with hyenas. Fear has turned to something more akin to hatred. Hyenas recognize the transition. It was a skirmish, not a battle. No blood was spilled. Today. The excited hyena clan gathers around the matriarch. They greet with a peculiar ritual, probably adapted to the dominance of females. This ritual is centered around the development of the mock penis to signal that dominance. The ceremony involves sniffing and licking the genitals. They mark the area where the lions were by leaving a scent on the grass as a signpost. Hyena cubs are like miniature adults, displaying the same behavior patterns as their parents. When the lions appeared, all the cubs bundled into the same den. The matriarch's female cub, whom we now call the princess, finds herself in hostile territory, fighting for her life. When the matriarch returns, the brazen cubs are sent scurrying to their own dens, and the princess is safe. We gave the older, larger male the African name Mandevu. The younger, lighter one is Intwaidumela, he who greets with fire. Cubs dig away inside the dens, working them into secret chambers that are inaccessible even to adult hyenas. But even down here, they have enemies. And competition among the cubs can play itself out in the most gruesome way. princess has killed her sister. As soon as they can, hyena cubs will try to kill each other. From the moment of birth, the firstborn or more dominant has an inherent aggressive drive to kill its nearest competitor. It is genetic selection. Hyenas are the only mammals known to carry out this kind of fratricide. Mothers usually don't intervene. The princess is now the probable future matriarch of her clan. Regal masters of the night wait and watch in the darkness, splitting off to different corners of their 40-square-mile territory, or joining to hunt occasionally when away from the females. The hyenas know each of these two males by sight and stay away. Tucked away in a distant corner of their territory, the rest of Matsumi's pride sees out another hot day in typical lion fashion. Heat steals the moisture that all life depends on. African bees, like everything else, are desperate for sustenance. They seek out any source of moisture. Although well equipped for most hazards, lions have few defenses against bees. They are more of an irritation than a danger, especially to Intwai Dumela. When the lions move on, the bees go in search of new victims. Hyenas are more tolerant, or lazier. But when the matriarch can't take it any longer, she finds a ready solution. She buries her problem. We stayed with Matsumi for 4 long days and nights as she struggled against the devilry of the lingering cobra venom. Her vision is still unfocused. The constant salivation dehydrates her. The ordeal has sapped her energy, and the pain from the bite in her back leg is obvious as she keeps it from touching the other one. She is totally vulnerable. Each day must be an agony. Each night, a nightmare. Like the lions, the hyenas patrol frequently to guard against neighboring clans. While on patrol, they come across the snake-bitten lioness. They sense that she can't defend herself, and they circle. She meets aggression with what little strength she has. But no hyena is quite willing to risk a frontal attack. In her weakened state, Matsumi seems like an easy target, but suddenly and quite surprisingly, the hyenas lose interest and vanish into the night. We kept up our watch on Matsumi for another few days, never knowing when the hyenas might return. She lay helpless, letting time heal her wounds. Recovery from a cobra bite is never a sure thing, but we know she is resilient. After a full week, the venom has worked itself out of Matsumi's body. She is able at least to walk once again. Her first impulse is to investigate the site of the confrontation with the cobra for any sign of her cubs. There is none. The hyenas saw to that, and she leaves the area for the last time. Seasons in Botswana seem to explode into sudden change with each rainfall or stirring wind. A solitary lioness has a difficult time hunting and protecting herself from hyenas. Matsumi waits and listens for her missing companions. As soon as the pride is back in the area, she recognizes their calls and rushes to join them. It's impossible to say just how much of her story they can smell. One can't help becoming caught up in the spine-chilling excitement of the hunt. Perhaps it has something to do with the memory of a time gone by when we were the prey, and our nights were filled with darkness. It's the time of the wildebeest again, and the tawny shapes are drawn by the need to devour. Kill is watched from the shadows. Quickly, the hyenas identify the lions and realize that the males are absent. Because Matsumi is weaker, she has to struggle to fight her way into the feeding frenzy. The noise attracts the entire southern clan. As the numbers mount up, the battle begins. Perhaps sparked by recent memories, Matsumi is the most aggressive. lionesses viciously. The lions are helpless, and from the safety of the trees, they can only watch their kill disappear. Blood flows tonight. This incident, at least, was simply a struggle for food. Competition between the super predators. We chose to stay with the lions as the prowling hyenas melted away into the night. By dawn, the lions were still isolated in small groups, reluctant to venture down from the trees. The pride begins to relax. They seem comforted by the lifting of the darkness and the disappearance of their enemies. Matsumi is still shaken. Getting up a tree is always easy. Coming down is less dignified. The matriarch's only surviving cub, the princess, is still enjoying the privilege of her birth. During the long hours we spent around the dens, the hyenas came to ignore us totally and played out their social games. Social time around the den cements the individual's place in the clan. On the long journey from pure scavengers to hunters, hyenas have adapted a quick and clear identification system that is reinforced each day. The princess is being groomed for leadership of the clan, but she is still dependent on her mother. Night after night, these hyenas pass the hours within earshot of the lions, constantly aware of the other's presence, always alert for a weakness to be used. Two families of feuding enemies. With each passing phase of seasonal change, Savuti is transformed as if by magic. Thousands of zebras migrate into the area, and the lions react immediately, converging on any stampede. Lions appear from everywhere, ignoring old established boundaries, encroaching on forbidden ground. They are all after the same food supply. As Matsumi leads the central pride in the hunt, another pride comes running in. They are neighbors and constant adversaries like the hyenas. Matsumi's pride is attacked and chased. As they retreat, one female is separated behind the line of attack by the intruders. She is surrounded and seriously injured. With only a few minutes of respite between attacks, the female is tormented throughout the night. Matsumi has been waiting in the shadows and comes in to investigate when the growls subside. The injured lioness is an older female, possibly her mother. But Matsumi can do nothing. She is chased off, and the old female is left alone to whatever fate awaits her. In the night, her blood drains out into the grass. The central pride is now smaller by one lioness. It is always sad to watch the death of a lion or a hyena that we have come to know. But these endless cycles of life and death have continued throughout the ages. After their loss, Matsumi and her pride reassemble and move off into the darkness, silently. The horrors of the night melt away under the warm glow of survival. After the death of the older female and within a month of losing her cubs, young Matsumi comes into heat again. One Devu reacts to the scent and follows her trail, knowing that she is ready for mating. While the younger male Intwai Demela is away patrolling the territory, his brother dominates the mating. A few months later, the southern clan patrols over the same patch of sabuti that soaked up the lioness's life. They are hunting. For the first time, the princess has joined the matriarch on the hunt. Zebras have returned on their migration, and the clan clan methodically runs down the folds, not bothering about stealth. Demela is back from his patrol, always ready to confront hyenas. He catches the matriarch. It is a moment of supreme opportunity for the male. Not concerned with food, his drive is to kill. Her back is broken. The matriarch can't survive a brutal mauling by a male lion. On her very first hunt, the princess is faced with a catastrophe. She has only just passed from total dependence on her mother's milk into the harsh world where she will have to fend for herself. As the princess finds her, the matriarch breathes her last. Without the matriarch, the clan is in turmoil. They are leaderless. New relationships have to be sorted out. Second and third ranked females now compete for the top position. Males mob a female, possibly to force her to choose a mate. Among hyenas, females select which male to mate with. For months, the clan will be nervous and quarrelsome, weakened against attack by lions or other hyena clans. The life of the princess is also in turmoil. Without the protection of her mother, she has lost all rank in the hierarchy. She wanders in and out of the clan's territory without knowing its limits and without the guidance of an adult. Alone, in a world full of enemies. The old den site has been abandoned because of fleas, and the new dens have new young cubs. The princess is accepted here because she is still a clan member, but now she has no privileges. Even the new cubs are allowed to take advantage of her. Very soon, she becomes alienated by her uncertainty and leaves the dens for the last time. marking and patrolling of boundaries by both lions and hyenas is a way of avoiding a conflict, like the recent lion fight, which can result in death. The hyena clan uses a waterhole as a territory boundary in the dry season. It is here that the princess joins up with her clan at night to tag along on the hunt. On the north bank, the clan's neighbors have smelled for days the intrusions of the princess and now rush in to confront her disrupted clan. The dispute is over their territorial boundary, which seems to run through the center of the waterhole. During this crucial confrontation, a new matriarch emerges and leads the southern clan into battle. When hyenas clash, they use their teeth as vicious weapons to inflict heavy wounds on each other, sometimes ending in serious maulings or even deaths. The northern clan is stronger, but the fighting is confused. Finally, they retreat again before the southern advance. After the battle is won, her own clan mistakes the princess as an intruder and attacks her. The only safe ground is in the center of the waterhole. In time, the fallen princess may join either of the clans, but she will never again climb the ladder to dominance. The boundary has been decided and will stay fixed for some months by the smell of the thick pasty markings left by both clans after the clash. Fixed, too, is the relationship the hyenas have with the lions. One that can only change with death. A blood feud that is forever. Once again, Mandevou is away from the Pride, patrolling on the grassland. The new clan matriarch is in attendance, following his every move. In a unique display of overlapping territorial language, the lion marks against the hyena. Usually, territories are disregarded by other species. But now, the matriarch and the pride male express their hostility with unmistakable actions. This new matriarch is confident and defiant, marking where he marks and harassing the much larger lion. Her calls and her fluffed-up tail posture attract support from other clan members, and don't go unnoticed by the lionesses on the edge of the open area. The matriarch seems to succeed in the psychological warfare. This is not a competition for food. When Matsuri leads the pride out to meet the hyenas, it is to do battle once again with their eternal enemies. Frenzied calls filter across the bush to the keen ears of Intwai Dumela, he who greets with fire. He is the hyena killer. A swift bite to the neck, and the new matriarch is dead. The day belongs to the lions. It was not always easy for us to witness these struggles for life. But at the end of it all, perhaps, we came to know more about ourselves and the struggles that rage within our own savage souls. Creatures of instinct, helpless to change their destiny.
Cameron and Zabu were both rescued from a roadside zoo in New Hampshire where they lived together. Cameron is a male African lion and Zabu is a female white tiger. They're often referred to as BCR's odd couple because these two species would not naturally live together in the wild or in captivity. Cameron and Zabu were born at the roadside zoo and then raised together in hopes of them crossbreeding to create white liger cubs. Ligers are unnatural hybrids not found in the wild that often suffer from an assortment of birth defects. These animals are not an actual species and should not be bred as they serve no part of any conservation plan. White tigers would not survive in the wild due to the fact that they would not successfully be able to hide or hunt. Humankind has exploited white tigers in captivity through inbreeding, and because of this, white tigers also carry many genetic flaws. Zabu is no exception, as she has a hair lip and cleft palate. Unfortunately, since these hybrids are so popular with the public, they're constantly being inbred in order to profit from them. The fact is that different attracts people's attention, and people bring along with them money. We rescued Cam and Zabu back in 2004. When they arrived at the sanctuary, they were obviously tired and stressed from the long journey. Zabu was a very dirty white tiger, and Cameron looked like a completely different lion compared to what we see today. Cameron's former keepers told us that he'd been through a very tough time and had lost a lot of weight due to starvation. Zabu headed straight for the pool to get cleaned off, while Cameron got used to his new surroundings. Whenever the sanctuary rescues cats that are living together, we make every attempt to keep them together. Cam and Zabu were true companions, and we had to do whatever we could to make sure this happened. We don't allow any breeding at Big Cat Rescue, so we decided to give Cameron a vasectomy. When he first arrived at the sanctuary, Cameron was too thin and weak to survive the procedure, so we had to wait for him to build up his strength. While a simple neuter would have been easier, we learned that in doing so, there was a strong possibility that Cameron could lose his big, thick mane. We designed and constructed a huge enclosure for this special couple, where they were finally reunited once we were sure no breeding could take place. Today, they are very popular residents amongst animal caretakers and guests alike. Zabu is a very energetic tiger, and while Cameron tries to sleep away the day like lions do, she's oftentimes pestering him to play. And when Cam is happy being lazy, she's got no problem entertaining herself, playing with her big red boomer ball, rolling around, frolicking with enrichment, or relaxing in her pool. She's also very fond of stalking her animal caretakers, not seeming to realize she's white and can be easily seen from anywhere in her enclosure. Cameron is now the Brad Pitt of the big cat world. With lots of grooming sessions and a good diet, he's transformed into a very handsome lion. His mane is particularly impressive, stretching down to his stomach, and with many different color variations, he's always looking good. Well, most of the time. You can hear Cameron roaring almost every day at the sanctuary. Joseph, our other male lion, lives on the other side of the lake and often replies to Cameron's roars. He's also goofy like Zabu at times. Cameron loves trying to catch his own tail, playing with enrichment, and having a good old relaxing roll around on his lawn. His favorite time of year is Christmas, as this is when we plant donated Christmas trees in the animal enclosures, and he truly loves the smell of pine. But he never lets you forget that he's a wild animal. It's a privilege to be able to provide Cam and Zabu with a permanent home for the rest of their lives, where they not only entertain us with their antics, but also help educate the public about the plight of their cousins in the wild and in captivity. You can help us change the way people treat big cats by texting the word tiger to 20222. Cameron and Zabu were both rescued from a roadside zoo in New Hampshire where they lived together. Cameron is a male African lion, and Zabu is a female white tiger. They're often referred to as BCR's odd couple, because these two species would not naturally live together in the wild or in captivity. Cameron and Zabu were born at the roadside zoo and then raised together in hopes of them crossbreeding to create white liger cubs. Ligers are unnatural hybrids not found in the wild that often suffer from an assortment of birth defects. These animals are not an actual species and should not be bred, as they serve no part of any conservation plan. White tigers would not survive in the wild, due to the fact that they would not successfully be able to hide or hunt. Humankind has exploited white tigers in captivity through inbreeding, and because of this, white tigers also carry many genetic flaws. Zabu is no exception, as she has a hair lip and cleft palate. Unfortunately, since these hybrids are so popular with the public, they're constantly being inbred in order to profit from them. The fact is that different attracts people's attention, and people bring along with them money. We rescued Cam and Zabu back in 2004. When they arrived at the sanctuary, they were obviously tired and stressed from the long journey. Zabu was a very dirty white tiger, and Cameron looked like a completely different lion compared to what we see today. Cameron's former keepers told us that he'd been through a very tough time and had lost a lot of weight due to starvation. Zabu headed straight for the pool to get cleaned off, while Cameron got used to his new surroundings. Whenever the sanctuary rescues cats that are living together, we make every attempt to keep them together. Cam and Zabu were true companions, and we had to do whatever we could to make sure this happened. We don't allow any breeding at Big Cat Rescue, so we decided to give Cameron a vasectomy. When he first arrived at the sanctuary, Cameron was too thin and weak to survive the procedure, so we had to wait for him to build up his strength. While a simple neuter would have been easier, we learned that in doing so, there was a strong possibility that Cameron could lose his big, thick mane. We designed and constructed a huge enclosure for this special couple, where they were finally reunited once we were sure no breeding could take place. Today, they are very popular residents amongst animal caretakers and guests alike. Zabu is a very energetic tiger, and while Cameron tries to sleep away the day like lions do, she's oftentimes pestering him to play. And when Cam is happy being lazy, she's got no problem entertaining herself, playing with her big red boomer ball, rolling around, frolicking with enrichment, or relaxing in her pool. She's also very fond of stalking her animal caretakers, not seeming to realize she's white and can be easily seen from anywhere in her enclosure. Cameron is now the Brad Pitt of the big cat world. With lots of grooming sessions and a good diet, he's transformed into a very handsome lion. His mane is particularly impressive, stretching down to his stomach, and with many different color variations, he's always looking good. Well, most of the time. You can hear Cameron roaring almost every day at the sanctuary. Joseph, our other male lion, lives on the other side of the lake and often replies to Cameron's roars. He's also goofy like Zabu at times. Cameron loves trying to catch his own tail, playing with enrichment, and having a good old relaxing roll around on his lawn. His favorite time of year is Christmas, as this is when we plant donated Christmas trees in the animal enclosures, and he truly loves the smell of pine. But he never lets you forget that he's a wild animal. It's a privilege to be able to provide Cam and Zabu with a permanent home for the rest of their lives, where they not only entertain us with their antics, but also help educate the public about the plight of their cousins in the wild and in captivity.